All right, in this video, I want to talk about popular and how are they so popular? And what I really want to get into here is how there's people who are supposedly supporting Jesus Christ. They are supporting Christianity. And the truth, yet they're popular, right? And what we need to realize is that Satan uses this tactic of what is called controlled opposition. And I might have spelled that wrong. But anyway, what he does here is that gives you your heroes. This is something you need to understand. Satan realizes that people wake up, right? They wake up, and what does he do when they wake up? Does he just go, oh, okay, I got to go hide or something because they're going to realize the truth? No, what he does is he sets up nets. The way I like to demonstrate this is the world is in this giant net, right? And if you get out of that one, he has another one over here, a little bit smaller, but it catches a lot of the people in it, right? And if you get out of that one, he has another one set up to catch you in that one. And each one of these is just a little belief system with its own leader, right? And everybody loves and respects the leader. And if you don't, you're the problem, right? So that's kind of the mindset they want to keep you in, is that of a follower, right? And since you grew up in a system where that's basically what you were doing, it's pretty natural, right? So an example of this would be something that I gone through personally, where when 9/11 happened, I remember I was in Portland. I was walking across the $1 Million Bridge going from South Portland to Portland, and I got a call telling me that the World Trade Towers were attacked. And I was like, And at the time, I was like 18. I was like, I had my own problems to deal with. You know, I was kind of a self-absorbed POS. And I was just like, I'm going home. And then my sister, my older sister, was talking all about it and everything. And I was just kind of taking the information in. And it was a little while before I actually saw the video. And I saw the video of the towers coming down. But I didn't hear all the commentary on it, that it was the Muslims who did and all this, right? Because they put you in that shock and then they tell you who did it, how'd they find that out so fast, right? But all I did was see the towers come down. And I was like, how'd they come straight down? I was like, that's controlled demolition right there. Because my dad was a combat engineer in the Marine Corps and was a drill instructor where he taught to use explosives and these kind of things, right? And I used to watch some videos with him, whether it be like carpentry, electrician stuff, plumbing stuff, and even showed stuff about controlled opposition because he thought I would think it was cool to watch some buildings blow up. And he was saying, you know, in these buildings, what you got to do is you have to get explosives in the right amount of an explosive, right, where it's not too strong but it's not too weak to do the job you need it to do, and you put it in certain areas of the building. You don't have to put it all over the building and cover it with explosives. You just got to find key points of that structure that support the building, and when you take those out, you can make the building where it falls straight down. You can make it fall inward onto itself so that you can blow up buildings right next to other buildings and not harm the other buildings, right? They might get a little dusty or dirty, but you just take it down and nobody gets hurt unless they're in the building, right? You just got to make sure the building is clear. And he was saying, like, when buildings get hit, like by a missile or something, you can see it damages part of the structure. It will fall over. It can blow up and hit other buildings around it, right? But when it's controlled opposition, it's clean in the sense that it doesn't damage everything else around it, right? So when 9/11 happened, I was like, what are you talking about? Planes took it down. That's controlled opposition. When a plane hit it into the side, why didn't just the top part of it fall over where it was weak and it fall over and hit buildings next to it? It fell straight perfectly down and just made a dust cloud as if it was controlled demolition. And everybody would just kind of ignore me, like I'm just some stupid teenager, right? And it was like, okay, well, what are you going to do with that, right? I'm like, it can't be any more obvious. And when they finally said, oh, building 7, another building there, oh, it caught fire, so we had it pulled, which is what the term you use when you're in controlled opposition and you're going to pull the building means you're going to blow it up. And then that building 7, it was pulled and it had controlled demolition to take it down. So how they have that controlled demolition already set up when you have to actually get into the blueprints of the building and plan out how to blow it up so that it doesn't destroy anything else around it. But they were able to do it on that same day, as if they already had the stuff set up. So I was like, yeah, this is definitely an inside job of some sort, right? I had no doubt about it. And what happened? I started to leave this net here, right, where the world leader, we'll just put Satan here. He's ultimately the leader of all these things. But he had a sub-leader here, somebody he set up. And that was Alex Jones. And at the time of 9/11, he was the one crying out saying, oh, this is controlled opposition and all this, and it's a demolition. Like, he was telling the truth. But he's also spewing out a bunch of other crazy stuff, right? And he was coming out about these things and exposing all these things. But you see, he was a controlled opposition. They gave us the hero. And I started to wake up with him when seeing some of the off things he would put. I went to InfoWars one time, and they showing a video of, China, they were running over protesters with a steamroller. And they showed somebody under a steamroller with his arm out. And he's like, yeah, he got run over. And I was like, okay, if that arm is there, he just got run over by a steamroller, there should be blood all over the place. But there wasn't really any. And I was like, you guys are a bunch of lying sacks of garbage here, right? This is some stupid stuff. And then in Austin, there was a group of people who were preaching some truth about something. I can't remember what it was. He came in with his megaphone and started speaking over him. And the people were saying, hey, we're with you, Alex. What are you doing? And he just started hijacking their crowd. And I was like, started to realize and understand the whole thing about controlled opposition and giving us our heroes, right? And now today, a lot of people are waking up with the world system and how it's satanic, right? They're looking at the left as being satanic, and they come out and who is their little leader that they're following now? Oh, now it's Donald J. Trump. He's their hero set up. When he's one of the billionaires that they're against, right? And who is this Alex Jones saying when he was saying, the government's satanic, you can't trust the left or the right? All of a sudden, he's pointing people to go, yeah, go to him. right? And then if you come out of this net, there's always somebody, right? This can represent different ones, because if you come out of this net, they might have several ones, several nets that they might catch you in, right? This could end up being a religion of some kind, right? It could be some small truther group, right? But ultimately, you can't think for yourself, because if you come up with some ideas that are different, but it makes sense, or you start to see the hypocrisy, some contradictions in the group, you are now part of the enemy to them, right? Because you're not following the leader. But ultimately, it's a hierarchy where these are just subgroups to these guys over here, and these are just a subgroup to Satan himself over here, whether they know it or not, right? For example, like a drug dealer is ultimately doing some work for Satan, but do you think he really realizes that's what he's doing? Probably not, right? He might have some kind of conviction about it being wrong, but he just pushes it aside. But other than that, he doesn't really, oh yeah, Satan's using me to cause this degradation, degeneration, right? He doesn't think of that. So when I see these people, because the thought came to me when, because I've been seeing a lot of posts where it says, Mel Gibson, oh, he's saying too much, right? And he's speaking out against these things. How is this possible when there's people like him and others who they can say the same things that I'm saying, or I can say the same things they're saying. Let's say they actually say them first, right? Give them some credit there sometimes, right? And they end up becoming more popular and everybody's paying attention to them. But when someone like me, or maybe you do it, all of a sudden they try to silence and censor us, shut down our channels, remove our videos, right? Why is that going on? And I was always like, what is going on? It's because it's controlled opposition. They give you the heroes. I'm not part of the group. You're probably not either, right? So they can't control us. So they don't want people to look to us as any kind of leader. Not that we're trying to be leaders, but sometimes that just naturally happens. They don't want that to happen because they don't control us. But they want someone like Alex Jones, Donald Trump, Mel Gibson coming out speaking the truth. Another one like Joe Rogan. Here's one where back when he was on like Fear Factor or something, somebody told him about UFOs or something, and he was saying, "Oh, I want to see a UFO." And he's like, the person was telling him something about like the CIA or something, their government actual aircraft, and he was saying, "Hey, if you show me the UFO, I'll lie for you. I'll lie to my mother." Right? That's what he said. If you show me a UFO. And what was weird is at that time he was talking about things like NASA is fake. We didn't go to the moon. And he was talking about even a flat Earth. And then all of a sudden, he's like, no, that's not true. Right? He's like, I'll lie. I'll lie to my mother. All of a sudden, his stance just flipped as if some deal was made. And he got to see what he wanted to see. And now, he's lying. And lying to his mother. Right? And like with Mel Gibson, obviously he gets to be put up there because he's supposedly supporting this, right? But he's Catholic, so he doesn't really support the idea that Jesus already saved us. All you got to do is accept that salvation and you're saved. He doesn't believe that because he's Catholic. You have to go join the Catholic Church. You have to get baptized by them, get confirmed, say your confessions to their priest, say your Hail Marys and Our Fathers, partake of the Eucharist, and do their other rituals and what have you, or else you're not going to be saved, right? Because it's about what you do and what you do for God. It's not about what God has done for you that saves you, right? Because they lack humility. They're not going to accept a free gift, even from God, because they're too puffed up. We're like, no, that means you're above me and that you control me, right? No, I'm going to earn it myself so that I can be your equal or even above you, right? And that's their mindset, because you see this in Catholic cultures where they don't like other people helping them out even when they need it and could use it, because that means, oh, you're above me in some way, right? They'd be like, no, we're the one that offers help because we're above you. That's how they would rather have it. If anybody's going to help anybody, we're going to help you. It's a very egotistical, arrogant mindset, a complete lack of humility, right? And they seem to be blind to it. But that's how you can see why someone like a Roman Catholic and someone who's just giving you all kinds of useless information. You know, Rogan might be giving you some truth there, but he's also giving you a whole lot of BS, right? But they get popular. But then there's times if you want to go say the same thing, all of a sudden you go down the toilet. So how is that? How does that work? Right? Why does that happen? Right? And their opposition is always something that is televised, right? Where it's like they plan out the event, right? That they got opposition. Kind of like a wrestling match, right? You have your hero character, and they have to bring up a villain. But the villain is part of the whole act, right? And it's set up for the hero to win, for you to really look up to the hero for defeating the enemy. But the enemy is not even real. He's an actor, right? Or she's an actor. There's more like female wrestlers now, right? And that's how it is a lot of these times, where they'll have some kind of debate, but it's all set up, where most of it is scripted, right? And at the end, when they have something that's not scripted, where the audience asks questions, sometimes the people in the audience are asking scripted questions, but if they're not, they get some real people asking questions. You'll notice that they'll just give you a bunch of word salad, and they'll never actually answer the question. They'll just divert the subject to something else and not actually answer the question, right? They just give you a bunch of nonsense. Even things when it comes to like Alex Jones and the stuff that he's going through, like losing money and all this, being sued. You don't think that's just set up to make it look like, oh, see, the system is against him? No, it's made to look that way. That guy's still fine. He's still well off. He's got nothing to worry about, right? The same thing with Trump, making it act like, oh, these court cases against him. Well, nothing's even happening to him, right? He's fine. It's a show. Even the supposed attempt on his life there, obviously staged. Oh, when I went up and I reached for my ear after the shot, and I looked at my hand and it was covered in blood. You look at the video, no, there wasn't. There wasn't any. You reach for your ear, you look at your hand, there's nothing there. You just get to the ground. And then when you raise up afterwards and you're putting your hand up saying, fight, 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 there's no blood on your hands either. So, what's going on there? It's staged. Yeah, somebody got shot. That's part of the whole thing. A little sacrifice there to make it look real, like 9/11. Inside job, they had to have some people there, even though they basically evacuated the buildings for the most part. Tore them down. But they had to have some people die to make it look like it was genuine and real, right? And yeah, just a human sacrifice there, as they see it. So I just wanted to make this video to get you to be aware when somebody starts to rise up in popularity, as in the world basically supports them. You know, they might have some kind of opposition, but it doesn't seem to matter. Like, the opposition never really takes them out. It's just something for them to overcome, and they happen to overcome it very easily. Everybody loves it. Like Donald Trump losing to Biden and doing all these court cases, and now he bounces back, right? Trying to look like a hero overcoming the enemy, right? It's a show, right? Oh yeah, Mel Gibson's lost his home in the fires over there, and they're against him because he says things about Jews. He's kind of blackballed and all this. Well, but he's still getting airtime. That's strange, right? Still allowed to say some things out there, get interviewed there. That's weird. Because you see that the real people who getting blacklisted there, you don't even know about them. You don't even realize it because they're not in the picture. They're gone. Right? They don't exist anymore in society, in the news, and getting any kind of coverage because they're not controlled. You got to realize that the stuff you're seeing through governments and the religions, the media, even through the education system, and of course through the amusements and entertainments that we all get into, these ones that they really push out there, 99% of the time, if not a complete 100% of the time, if there's popularity to them, it's because they're controlled opposition. They're setting up your heroes. And you see, one of the main reasons why they want to do this is because of a little thing. Let's change the color here. And let's thicken this up a little bit, so you can see this over here. It's a thing called NLP. I learned about this as a Seventh-day Adventist. It's called neuro-linguistic programming, where in their colleges, they actually teach their pastors and openly teach that they're doing this. They teach them NLP, which they'll openly admit is a form of hypnosis. And one of the things that they do for NLP is they mirror you, right? So an example of this that we can see with these heroes and how they mirror you is how they like to explain it is if you run a horse ranch and you're trying to catch some wild Mustangs out there, some Broncos or what have you, right? You would go out on your horse and the other wild horses will start running. You match the pace of the horse that's trying to get away, right? So you're starting to mirror them, right? And the next thing they do is they take the lasso, they throw it over the neck of the wild horse, right? And that's the next step. You're trying to get in a connection there. Like, you're knocking on the door, you're trying to talk to them, get them to come to some kind of sermon, some kind of speaking event. You're trying to get a hold of them, right? And then once that happens, they pull the wild horse in close to the horse that's being rode upon, and they start trying to slow things down. They start trying to control the pace. So this is trying to build the connection of like a friendship. We're close, right? We're friends, right? We're like one another. See, we're running at the same speed. Let's calm down. Let's slow down, right? Because they see, hey, I'm running with another horse, and this horse is slowing down. It's calming down, and so they can start to do the same thing, right? They try to control it, right? And then they slow the pace there, and then they bring that wild horse into the corral, And once they bring it into the corral, you can see it as one of these nets here. They break it. They break its will and get it to submit to the ranch owner guy, right? Or I suppose gal, right? That's what they do. And then they we see this when, like with a door-to-door salesman, right? They'll knock on the door. If you open the door, they try to look in the house real quick to see if they can see some things that they can connect with and start a conversation with, to try to be like, yeah, I'm like you, right? Maybe they're not going to try to sell whatever they're selling. Back in the day when they used to do that, right? They would look at something and they see some like a Bible, some religious stuff. They'll start talking about, they're doing their job and, Christ, hopefully he's going to help them out. And they try to preach Christ while they're doing their job, right? But the person might be an atheist, right? But they're lying. It's NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. They're trying to connect to you, right? They're trying to be like, I'm like you, because it's what they call mirroring. When you look at them, they want you to see themselves, right? That's the whole thing they're trying to do. Like, if I was using NLP on you, it's like I would want you to look at me as if you're looking at yourself. And this is what they do when someone like Alex Jones comes up after 9/11, and he's preaching the same truth that you saw. Like, yeah, that's controlled demolition. And all the people who could see that, he starts saying what you're thinking, but nobody else cares about, right? And then that builds a connection. And he's the one that starts to be the figurehead, and you start to unconsciously, vicariously live through him, where you're not really going out saying it so much anymore because you already have the person doing it. You have the leader doing it. The same thing with Donald Trump. He started to say the things people wanted to say, I guess starting in around 2016 and everything. So people started vicariously living through him, whether they were realizing it or not, right? Because he was saying some of the things they wanted to say. But you see, it's called NLP. It's controlled opposition. And we see that Mel Gibson and Joe Rogan, they'll start to say a lot of those truths that you want to hear, that you want to say and you want to get out to people, and they're the ones being a figurehead doing it. And sometimes this happens also in the things you watch. Like, you might be watching a show, and what do? You relate to your favorite character in the show. You relate to your favorite character in the movie. You relate to your favorite character in the comic, right? You relate to your favorite character in the game, right? And then what they'll do is they'll create a hero that they know a lot of people would like, and it's a certain kind of people they want to get. Let's say they're trying to get to strong, independent men. They'll make a character like that, and then once people really get into that character, they'll start writing in the story about how he has to learn that he can't do everything on his own, and he has to submit to some group in order to work things out, right? And it's like, what? He's doing what he never really did before? And you see, that's how they do it. They mirror to get you to relate to a character, to attach to them, which is basically what these people are. All these people right here, characters in a show, in a movie, and you start to relate to them. And you start to be like, yeah, and sometimes you might even say some of the things that they would say in the show or comic, whatever, in real life. Right? Especially you see the kids, they'll start saying the catchphrases of the superhero. But then, like I said, you get looking up to this hero who's not even a real character like these people are, and then they divert you, right? Because you're that wild Mustang they're trying to catch. So they start relating to you, being like, yeah, I'm like you. They get that noose around you. You start connecting. You think you're friends, right? You look that there's some kind of hero to you. But they don't even know you. They don't even care about you. And then they start turning you away from the open fields of freedom, and they bring you into the corral, right? Bringing you into the ideas that you never normally would have accepted, right? And that's ultimately the idea. Like, an example would be, oh, they're pretending to be Christian, right? So you start to relate to them. Like, yeah, I'm Christian, and I deal with, people just treating me unfairly and unreasonably just because I believe in Jesus, I believe in the Bible, I'm not afraid to share it. But because of that, they treat me as if I'm subhuman or something, right? Like a dog. And you may relate to that, but then they have the person end up accepting something like ecumenicalism, like accepting all the different religions, or just giving up Christianity completely, right? You know, to try to influence you to even be open to that possibility, right? And if you were actually conscious of your mind, you'd be like, I don't like this character anymore, right? They're weak and they fell away and all that. But sometimes you get really attached to the character, even though it's not even a real person. That person doesn't even know you, right? Like Donald Trump, Alex Jones, Mel Gibson, Joe Rogan, and these characters in your comics and your movies and your shows, they're not even real and they don't even know you, right? But you get attached to them. Sometimes it's your favorite pastor or priest or something, right? And you're looking up to them because they're preaching the things that you know in your heart, the things you've really been thinking about. And you're like, yeah. And then you think, I can trust this person. And then they start subtly diverting you to the left or to the right from the path you're going on, to ultimately get you to turn completely backwards. Because if you end up in one of these outer nets, ultimately they're trying to veer you back in this way, to get back into the bigger net with everybody else, right? So that's how the NLP works there. You got to watch out that the serpent is very subtle, right? And he's fake. So you shouldn't trust people very quickly at all, right? If people are being nice and they're trying to be like you, like all of a sudden they're being very Christian and open to Christianity, that doesn't mean you should just accept them. For example, because I'm a Christian channel here, that's what I'm going to talk about, right? You should make them consistently live that out, even until you're actually fine with it, whether it takes months or years, right? Especially if you start to see some slip-ups where they don't seem consistent, all right, well then don't give them any trust for longer, right? Maybe they just slipped up because, people do. But maybe they slipped up because they're fake. Right? We got to be as wise as serpents, but as harmless as doves. We got to realize how the serpent works. He comes in subtly and camouflaged, where he comes as an angel of light and his ministers as ministers of righteousness. A perfect example of this, to wrap up this video, would actually be, let's change the color here. Would be, I forgot his name. There we go. I remembered it here. Billy Sunday or Billy Graham. Now, a while ago, I actually went and I looked at some of the stuff this guy was preaching back in his day. And I was like, this guy knows the gospel, and he knows it so well that he can just very simply and eloquently give out the gospel that a child can understand, the elderly can understand, the mentally deficient, the simple can understand. And I was like, this guy, I get why they call him like Billy Sunday, right? He had a way with words, and he was giving the gospel out. That's what I was paying attention to, is the gospel message, and he gave it out very well. And he happened to be very popular, right? But guess what he ended up doing? This is how subtle the snake is. He was actually very, very good at giving out the gospel. But he ended up preaching at places where he'd preach the gospel, and then when people would come to him at the end of his preaching, he would divert them to Catholic priests, to the Catholic Church, who are completely against the gospel. Right? Jesus didn't already save you. You got to do all these other things that the church puts on your shoulders. Right? They put this burden upon you and then tell you, well, you're probably still going to end up going to purgatory. This won't be enough, all these things that you're doing. because they deny the fact that Jesus already did it all to save you. He finished the work, right? You bring him to the Catholic Church, and by the end of his days, he was basically saying the Catholics are brethren in Christ, and even saying that Islam, the Muslims, are too. So you see here how he started off here. I guess we'll use green and yellow here. Started off here good, right? Giving out the gospel. And you relate to him like, yeah, he says it so well. He's a hero there. I can count on Billy because he's going to tell you the truth and he's going to tell you the gospel plainly. He's not going to fall away. He's a good, godly man. And then all of a sudden, his color changed. Right? He's on the bad guy side all of a sudden. Right? All of a sudden, he's completely flipped. As if green and yellow are opposite colors. Let's just pretend that. All right? Completely flipped from black to white kind of thing, right? And it's like, wow. How'd that happen? Did he fall away? Or was he using NLP the whole time? He was mirroring the people and what people were feeling and thinking and what they truly believed and how they couldn't really express very well, right? A lot of people wanted to express the gospel. They expressed the love of God and his power, right? And what he did to save us. But they couldn't really bring it out through words. But Billy Graham did it. He brought it out in words. People gravitated towards that, right? And then once he got people looking up to him, all of a sudden, he brought the horse into the corral to break it. Right? It's like, wow, I really thought he was on my side. And it just shows you why you cannot look up to man. Right? Any one of these supposed leaders. Even if it's in your favorite church, it's your favorite priest, your pastor, reverend, minister, whatever you want to call them, pope or what have you. Your favorite saint. Well, if you're looking to them, you're looking to somebody who's imperfect. Even if they are a good, godly person where they actually want the truth and they're going after God, they're still an imperfect human. And if they're truly a man and or a woman of God, it's not an and or there, it's or a woman of God there, then they themselves aren't looking to any other man, they're looking to God. And if you want to be like them, you need to look to God yourself. Right? For example would be Jesus and his apostles. Who were the apostles looking up to? Jesus. They were following Jesus. So if you want to be like the apostles, are you going to look, I'm going to go follow Peter, I'm going to go follow John, I'm going to go follow Paul, I'm going to go follow James. Well, who were they following? Jesus. So why would you do that? Why don't you follow Jesus like they were doing? And it's why you get all these crazy groups like, yeah, I follow the early church fathers. Well, who did they follow? Oh, yeah, well, they followed the apostles. Okay, but who did they follow? Jesus. So how come the early church fathers didn't just follow Jesus like the apostles? All right? And these saints that you look up to, who do they talk about? They'll talk about God. They'll talk about Jesus and who they're going after. Why are you looking up to them then? Why don't you do what they're claiming to do and go after God yourself? What's up with that? It's kind of like, think of it like this, and I'll wrap the video up with this. I'll change the color again. I don't think I got... I wonder what colors I can actually pick here. I guess we'll do purple to be different. All right, so you got, what do you call like a sensei over here, right? So you got the sensei. The first thing that comes to mind is Kill Bill. You have this old fella who's training these killers. Let's not say you want to be a killer. Let's say you're just learning for, to learn skills, to learn to control yourself and discipline, and learn self-defense and all that, and maybe to defend your family in case You don't have, your gun there at your house for some reason, like they take your guns, you can still have some kind of skill to defend, right? Whatever your reasoning is. Now, you have that sensei there, but he taught, we'll just call them others, right? You got the group of people that he taught in the movie, right? I think Uma Thurman is one of them there, and there's the guy from the Kung Fu series there who was in it. And if you want to learn what they've learned, because you see how they are very good at the craft, are you going to go learn from them? Right? We'll put Uma and we'll put Kung Fu guy, right? These are the others. Are you going to go learn from them? Because just because they know it doesn't mean they're actually good at teaching it, right? Right? There's a lot of Christians who know Christianity very well. They're just not very good at teaching it and explaining it and putting it into words, right? But they know it. Like if you ask them the questions, they know it. They know the Bible. They're just not very good at teaching it to people, right? So if you want to learn what these people know, will you go to them or would you go to the sensei that taught them? And I think you'd be like, yeah, I want to go to the one who taught them. But for some reason, people, they want to go to these ones, right? And then there's some people who learn from them. We'll just put Bob and Sarah. They learn from these people. And then we'll put Travis and let's think of another letter here, of a different name here. Linda. Right, there we go. They learn from Bob and Sally over here. And then you could go to this guy over here and learn from the one who trained them all, that the source of all of this. Or would you go to these people who learn from the ones who learned, who the ones from the learned, from the ones who learned, who the ones from learned? I know I'm not even making sense. But they learn from the ones who learn from the ones who learn from the ones who learns from the ones who's the one that actually is the master. Right? Why wouldn't you just go straight to the master? I think you get the point I'm saying here. Right? Why are you going to get the recycled stuff? Pretty much is what it is, right? Because one of the people that he trained ended up betraying him. Right? In the movie, there's some lady who goes after and ends up killing this sensei fella. Kind of like a Judas, right? So why would you go after something like that? Right? You don't know if the people who are trained by him have the same character that he does. You don't know if they're a Judas or like they're a Peter, where they're very slow to be converted. Right? Why not go directly to the master who knows you and knows your heart and knows how to reach you where you're at in a way that can actually benefit you? Where these people, they might be trained up by that sensei, by Jesus Christ. But Jesus Christ is God and knows them and knows how to reach them individually. They are not God. They're not Jesus. They are not going to be able to reach into you and know you and understand you in a way that they can reach you on your level, where you are at, to teach you in a way where you can understand, where they can get you ready to be like the master. But the master, in this case, is God, Jesus Christ himself, where you can go to him and he'll reach you because he knows your heart and he knows how to train you up, where he might have to train you differently because he sees that you are different than the other ones that he trained. Right? So, with all that being said, watch out for controlled opposition. Right? They want to give you your heroes. They want to give you some leaders. They want you to be looking up to some man or even a woman, or sometimes a group of men or women, or men and women, right? Instead of God. Right? So they will set up your leaders. They're going to give you some truth, right? Satan ended up giving the fruit from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So Satan doesn't just give you straight poison. He's going to give you truth because he knows the truth is going to get you to eat the poison that he puts with it, right? He's going to give you a glass of water when you need it, but he's going to throw a drop of poison in there where you don't even notice it, right? It's 99% good water, but you don't want to drink it because that 1% is that poison, right? Another illustration that I like to use is Cocoa Puffs. Cocoa Puffs look a lot like rabbit turds. If anybody's seen rabbit turds, they're little balls just looking like Cocoa Puffs, right? So if you had a bowl of Cocoa Puffs, but someone said, yeah, I switched one of your Cocoa Puffs, like you have 100 Cocoa Puffs there, I took one of them out and put a rabbit turd in there. Do you want to eat that? And it'd be like, well, it's 99% good Cocoa Puffs. Is it really a big deal that 1% of it's bad? You're going to say, yeah, it's a big deal. I don't want to eat rabbit turd. And that would be the correct response. I had one person say, well, I'll just take the rabbit turd out. After it's already contaminated, what was in there, you'd still eat that? Especially you got the milk in there, you know, that rabbit turd rubbing off in the milk, it's spreading all over. I mean, really? You're really going to eat that? Now, yeah, I do recommend eating the meat and spitting out the bones, but when it comes to a group, whether it's a government, a religion, a church, an education system, some kind of school, college of some sort, yeah, you may come across eating the meat and spitting out the bones, but you're not going to be able to remove the falsehood, the poison from those groups. You're going to just have to accept the truth that they give and walk away because they're not going to get rid of the same bones and poison that you don't want to eat. So you're not going to be able to just like, oh, I'm going to take out the rabbit turd out of the Cocoa Puffs. Well, you might do that, right? You might be like, you know what? I'm going to walk away from this. I'm going to just take the box of Cocoa Puffs, leave out that rabbit turd. But you see the rest of the people who make up, let's say, the church that you're going to, they're not going to do that. So if you're going to stay there with them, you're going to get the mix. Because you don't run that church, right? You don't run the country. You don't run the college. You don't get to decide what they teach and don't teach. So to spit out the bones and eat the meat, you're just going to have to walk away from these things. So with all that being said, this one's I think a long one, but I really wanted to explain these things. Sometimes I want to get into real detail. So thank you for watching. Take care. Appreciate you watching the video all the way through. If you could just take a moment to pray for me real quick that our Heavenly Father keeps me going and keeps this ministry going. Just amen in Jesus' name would be all I need, really. You know, you see I'm fighting that good fight, the spiritual fight that's done with words to win over the hearts, minds, and souls of men and women. Then thank you for your support, that this keeps going. And you see that I'm feeding the sheep there, trying to educate them and reason with them as equals, as brothers and sisters, reason with them. Then, you know, please support, even if it's just with that prayer right there. But if you want to help us some more, please like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, share the video, share the channel, interact in the comment section. This thing or those things would help generate attention to the video, to the channel, get the truth out there. And I'm not monetized, so to make sure this keeps going, I have 4 ways you can support financially if you so choose in the info box below. So with all that being said, thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.